and welcome to Encouraging Leadership, conversations that mobilize today's women leaders, with your host, Ann Miner. Meet leaders who share their observations, knowledge, insight, and perspectives to mobilize you to apply your own leadership in business and in life. Here's your host, Ann Miner.
Welcome to Encouraging Leadership, conversations to mobilize today's women leaders. I'm Ann Miner, your host, and I have with me today Kelly Falardeau. Kelly is a burn survivor since the age of 2 years old. She endured horrific scarring on 75% of her body and constantly struggled with her self-worth and confidence. Kelly found a way to go from near death to success, from the ugly scar-faced girl to the top 10 most powerful and influential speaker, Fierce Woman of the Year, 4 times a best-selling author, recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, and a YWCA Women of Distinction Award winner. Kelly, welcome to Encouraging Leadership.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on your show today, Anne. I love the work you do, so I'm really excited about participating in it.
And we're glad that you're here too. And I know that my listeners will be interested to know, how did you get started as a speaker and an author?
Well, my story starts with, me being, actually getting burnt when I was 2 years old and completely struggling with self-esteem and inner beauty and confidence and all that sort of thing. And really, my whole speaking career started when I was 14, when I joined 4-H for when I had my horses. And I had to do a speaking competition, and I actually ended up winning it. And then when I was 21 years old, I became the president of the Alberta Burn Rehabilitation Society. And again, I had to do more speaking then. But it wasn't until about 6 years ago that I realized being a speaker was my passion. And I understood that the universe was pointing me in that direction, but I didn't really take it seriously until about 6 years ago when I met Charmaine Hammond. And she told me, you know what, Kelly, you need to sell that other business you have, and you need to be a speaker. And I just said, why? I don't get it. I'm just a burn survivor, so what? And she goes, no, people will be inspired by your story. You didn't give up. There was so many times you could have given up, and you didn't. And so people need to hear your message. And as a result of that, I ended up taking a workshop by Cheryl Cran, and it was the Keynote Queen workshop, where she teaches women how to be keynote speakers. And then, of course, from there, after I took that, she was telling me, you know what, Kelly, you need a book. Because as a speaker, people are going to want more of you, and they're going to want to know more about your message. And so you need to have a book, not only for that, but also so you can make money, so that when you do speak for free, because you do get invited to speak for free a lot, then you'll have a product to sell so that you can also make money. So that was how I started.
And you mentioned that you decided to get out of another business and start taking your speaking seriously. Was there one question that made you make that decision, or one thought that made you take that action?
Well, what was really interesting is that I was a stay-at-home mom for about 10 years. I had my daughter, and then I ended up losing my baby, and then I ended up having a set of twin boys. And then I started up a different business called Memories in Motion, and it was a scrapbooking business. And from that business, my husband got laid off. And so he told me it was time for me to step up to the plate and go to work. And so I did. And I still did my scrapbooking business, and then I wanted to be a speaker. But in the meantime, at my job, while I was doing all of this stuff, I had the worst performance review in my life. And my boss took me aside and she said, Kelly, you had an amazing review a year ago, and now this year, your review is so bad, it's hard to tell that this is the same person. And she goes, you're speaking and you're writing, and doing so well, but here you're failing. And she says, I have to wonder why, like if there's some form of self-sabotage that's going on. And she says, I need you to ask yourself one question. And she says, are you going to be excited to come to work on Monday, or are you going to be relieved if you don't have to come to work on Monday? And that question hit me to my core, because I knew that ultimately I wanted to be a speaker and an author full time. I didn't want to have a job full time and then to be a speaker after hours. I wanted to be a speaker full time because I got so much joy and satisfaction and passion and energy every time I spoke on stage and shared my story and helped other people, that I realized that my job was holding me back from really truly loving who I was and getting out there as a speaker. And not only that, it was holding me back from the amount of money that I could make. Because, you know, Anne, when you have a job, you're limited to how much money you can make per hour. And when I became a speaker, I was able to speak one time and make the same amount of money as if I had worked 40 hours a week for a whole month. And so when she asked me that one question, are you going to be excited to come to work on Monday or relieved if you don't have to? I went into my job the very next day and said, you're right, and today's my last day. And that was when I took my journey and took my leap, and I said, okay, I'm going to be a speaker full time. So it was crazy because I'd also ended my marriage 6 months earlier. So I had massive life change. It wasn't just about my speaking career. It was also about my marriage. And, you know, then I was also going through divorce at the same time.
Wow. So that was a lot of stress on you at that time.
Absolutely. Tremendous stress. Because I also left my kids with my husband. And I moved in with my aunt and uncle. So here I was, 44 years old, living in a little bedroom. And, you know, I was going to do whatever it took to be happy and feel loved and be in a career that was going to make me, you know, feel awesome.
So along that path, I imagine that there were moments where you might have thought about whether you'd made the right decision or whether you maybe even felt like quitting. What kept you going?
What kept me going is the people I was impacting and my kids. So every time I would think about quitting, I would think about what would that impact on my kids? Like, what would my kids think if all they saw was me quitting? And I couldn't do that to them. I knew that I had an energy. I knew I had a message. I knew I had a purpose. And there was times when I would get text messages or emails from people saying to me, you know what, I am so glad I heard you speak because I related so well with you. And because I heard you speak, I want to live today. And I now see that I have a purpose in my own life. And so that would give me the energy to say, oh my gosh, I'm on the right path. I'm impacting people. And so every time I feel like quitting, I go back to some of those text messages or I go back to some of those emails, you know, where people have given me these awesome testimonials. And I remind myself that, hey, I'm impacting people's lives, and that's my purpose.
And certainly you are a fabulous, fabulous role model. Courageous, competent, committed, and compassionate of others. And I wonder, Kelly, if you would share with us, what do you think it takes to be a woman leader?
It takes an incredible amount of strength. It takes perseverance. It takes bravery. It takes following your heart, listening to your heart. I mean, I know it's so easy to listen to those outside voices that tell you that you're wrong or tell you that you're not good enough or you're not smart enough or you're not successful enough. Or it really takes listening to your heart that is telling you, you need to do this. I mean, I remember when I was first deciding to be a speaker and I was still married. And when I told my husband at the time that I wanted to be a speaker, he said, "How are you going to do that?" I said, "I don't know, but it's going to happen." And that night, he proceeded to tell me how difficult my life would be if I became a speaker. And he was telling me, who's going to want to listen to you? And what kind of story do you have? And I don't understand what makes you think that you're so important that people are going to want to listen to you. And he's trying to compare me with like Tony Robbins and, all these bigwig speakers. And here I was, basically just scrambling and trying to get by and, raising these 3 kids. And, and he just saw our lives as full of doom and gloom. But then what I did is I went and I got some mentors and I would share with them. I said, every time I speak, this is how I feel. And they'd say, you know what, because that's your passion. And I never felt that way with a job. And so I had to listen to that inner voice that was telling me that I needed to do this. And there's even times, as like lately where I think, should I go get a job? Like, really, what the heck should I do? But when I think about it and I ask myself that question again, are you going to be excited to get a job or are you going to be relieved if you don't have to get a job? And I know that I say to myself, I would be relieved. And it drives me forward to keep persevering and, and finding more speaking gigs and finding more ways to get my message out there. And, I ask myself, what does my heart say? And I listen to that little voice that says, you need to share your story more. And so then I just reach out to people who are going to love and support me. Don't ever go to those people who are negative and don't believe in your dreams. Go to the people who love and support you and know that you're on the right path.
So Kelly, tell me where you find those people, because I imagine there are listeners like myself who often wonder, where is my tribe?
Where is my tribe?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I know. I know that when you are put in the right place at the right time, your tribe is going to find you. I mean, I know of people who have found me through all kinds of other people that I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how they found me. But they do. They just gravitate towards you. But it's all about putting out positive messages out there and really asking for the help. Like even today, I was saying, because I have my Blankets for Burn Kids program where I give away, we find sponsors and we give away the blanket to the burn kids and kids that need to feel more loved, needed, and wanted. And so even today, I put on my Facebook, I'm really looking for help. I need to find more organizations that want to use my blankets as a fundraiser so they can make money and we can give the blanket to people who need to feel more love. Well, within 10 minutes, I had like 3 people offering to help and sharing with me different organizations that would want to work with me. And I didn't even know any of those organizations that they had talked about. So the way you find your tribe is by asking. So it's by asking people, who do you know who could help me with this? And people love to help. Like the people who are really in a caring and giving and leadership role, they want to help you. And so when you ask for that help, it'll show up.
Well, that's a really, really interesting idea, Kelly, because so often I find that people are either unwilling or maybe even unable to bring themselves to ask for help. And this is so important that we all accept that together, with the help of others, we can achieve more.
You're so right. A lot of times people see asking for help as a sign of weakness, and it's not. It's not a sign of weakness at all. It's a sign of that you're looking for resources and you're looking for ways to get answers to your questions. It's not a sign of weakness. I wasn't showing people that I was weak by asking that question. I was showing people that I want to share and I want to help more people. Can you help me by finding more people who need the help?
Well, exactly. And the
And,
humility factor.
well,
It,
exactly. And the big thing is most people are just too scared to ask. They're just too scared to ask anything. And it's not even about whether it's to ask for help. It's also they're just scared to ask. And I know myself, even sometimes I get scared. Well, not that much I get scared. It's just like I get tired of asking for help. But to me, that's the only way to make it in business is by asking for help.
well, exactly. So, Kelly, what is it that you love the most about being a woman leader?
I love that I'm not restricted to showing up at work at 9 o'clock in the morning and going home at 4:30. I love that I'm not restricted to what I have to do day in and day out. I honestly can't imagine going to a job and doing the same thing over and over and over and having to live by somebody else's rules. I love that if I see a project I want to do, I just jump on it and do it if it's something that feels good to my heart. So, for example, 6 years ago is when I decided to be a speaker. And then, 6 months later, I was writing my first book. And then a year ago, I had said to my best friend, I'm really kind of bored with my life. Like, things are going well. Like, I'm speaking lots and I'm writing and I'm coaching some people. But I feel like I'm missing something and I don't know what that is. What am I missing? And she says, well, I see you painting. And I'm like, painting? What do you mean I can't paint? I've never painted in my life. I don't even know what you're talking about. And she goes, no, I see you painting in a big way, making thousands of dollars, and I just see that about you. And why don't we go to a paint night and learn how to paint? And I was like, no, I think you're full of crap. I just want to go drink wine in your hot tub. Well, I didn't realize what was really happening until later. The very next day, I saw on Facebook a painting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn how to do that. And so I did. I went on YouTube and I learned how to paint, and I put my 4 canvases that I made up on Facebook. And then all of a sudden, all these people were liking them and commenting on them, and people were asking me if they could buy them. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? Like, why do people want to buy my painting? So this girl emailed me, and so she said, can I buy your painting? I'm like, sure. And she said, how much? And I didn't know how much to charge because I've only been painting one day. How would I know my value as a painter, right? And so I said, I don't know, but how much would you pay me? Like, how much do you offer? She says, I'll pay you $150. I was like, okay. So in that 1 week, I know, right? 1 week I made $1,000 painting. So, so here's what happened. My ego was a little bit out of joint because my ego wants to be the speaker, not a painter, right? But then all of a sudden, here's what happened. I didn't understand that I was actually going to be able to make a business out of this, and I was going to be able to become a leader in painting. So what happened is all of a sudden people were asking me to teach them how to paint. So I started doing workshops and I was teaching people how to paint. And then I found a place where I could get my could get my artwork put on a blanket online. And then I started selling them. I started selling the blankets. And so then what I did is I developed a whole charity called the Blankets for Burn Kids program. And I raised money and got an investor involved, and I had 1,400 blankets shipped from overseas to Canada here. And then what I do is I ask people to sponsor a blanket to give to a child in need. And so all of a sudden, I've got like people who are hiring me to speak at their events because they want to support my charity. So the real deeper message about all of this little whisper in my heart that said, go paint, actually ended up being a huge moneymaker for me. And I I think I've made probably about $30,000 combined with my charity and marketing revenue that I've made on selling the blanket. And all it sparked from was that, my best friend telling me go paint. So sometimes we never know where a little message is going to take us until we actually do it. So now when I look back, I think I am so glad that I listened to that little voice that told me to go paint.
Yes, and that's such a fabulous story, Kelly. And I do recall wondering how it was that you made that transition, or at least added on your painting activities and your painting business to your speaking. So now I know how that came about. And I also noticed that at first you resisted. And isn't that something that we all can do? We resist an opportunity. We resist branching out or stepping forward. In fact, we hold ourselves back from opportunities if we're not prepared to first of all, of course, listen, but then take that risk. Take a little bit of a risk, or maybe sometimes it's even a big risk. But what is the worst that could happen? If you're not putting your life at stake, trying something new, adding on to the skills and abilities and the gifts that you bring to the world can be such a wonderful thing to do. And I'm sure our listeners would like to know that you also have put your art on cards and mugs. Was there anything else?
Well, and that's like, I love what you're talking about, Anne, because it's so true that a lot of times we resist an opportunity because we can't see what direction it can go in. And it would have been very easy for me to resist the whole painting thing. But I thought, okay, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust the process, that this is going to lead to something. I don't know what that is going to be, but I'm going to lead to it. And the cool thing is the universe has such a unique way of doing this. I mean, it's not like the universe is going to send me an email and say, okay, so tomorrow you're going to see on Facebook a painting, and that's going to teach you how to paint. And from there, you're going to make $1 million because you're going to finally learn how to paint. It doesn't do it that way. It just all of a sudden you get these subtle little clues and hints and signs, and it's up for you to recognize them. And so I was so glad that I decided to take that risk. To me, it was a huge risk when I decided to buy the blanket. But all I could think about is all the love that I would be sharing with people, and all the other opportunities that I would have to get involved and get known as a speaker and to help people. And now my 13-year-old son is now a speaker, and we speak to all these different Rotary clubs, and it's all coming together. And so I love that. And the other beautiful thing about the internet is that, you're right, I'm doing the mugs and the tea towels and all of these crazy things because I found a place online where I can put my artwork on their products, and then people can order them online, and I don't even have to inventory them. So it's just been beautiful that I don't have to worry about spending thousands and thousands of dollars buying products that might not sell. So, I mean, the internet is just a beautiful thing, and when you ask for help, you get it.
And what you've done there is to beautifully leverage your life experience, which has not always been a happy story, as one can hardly imagine. But you've taken what happened to you, and you've turned it into a wonderful gift that you give to other people, not only others that have suffered a burn experience, but those people who are having self-doubt, who are questioning their abilities, who have a dream that they've suppressed, and you're a role model and an inspiration for them, including me.
And you're right. I mean, so many times we hear that little whisper in our heart, but we think, oh, I'm not good enough, or whatever, or what are they going to think of me if I do that? And I mean, I was one of those people that tried a million things. And every time I would fail, I would think, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me now? I tried one more thing that didn't work. Oh, darn, right? But I knew that if I kept going, something would work. But it was just a matter of, keep persevering and finding that way to push through. And that was the key thing, is to keep pushing through.
My own inspirational message for today was that in every setback lies opportunity. You might not see it just at that moment, it might not be evident, but as you work your way through it and cope with the setback, you will find an opportunity to put that learning to work for you and move on to something even more positive. So, that's just what I hear you saying, is that in each failure, probably we just need to say that was a lesson, it was a setback. As Thomas Edison said, well, now I know 7,233 ways not to make a light bulb. So
yeah. Well, and
go ahead.
sometimes what I find with a setback or an obstacle is that, to me, like, sometimes we used to say, you put an obstacle in front of someone to see how high you're going to jump. I don't see it that way. I see an obstacle as maybe a way of directing you into another direction. And that maybe you're not supposed to go that way. Maybe it's a different solution and you're supposed to go a different way. And so that's what I see an obstacle as. I just think it's a way of pointing you in a more correct direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kelly, if you could do something differently or anything differently, what would that be?
I would do it sooner. I spent 24 years in my marriage that, I felt was a loveless marriage. I probably would have ended that sooner. And I probably would have taken up the signs to be a speaker way back when I was in my 20s instead of when I was in my 40s. But, I also believe that I had to go through my life the way I had to go through it so that I could learn the lesson, so I would have some knowledge and wisdom and some stories to share with other people. So as much as I say I would do it sooner, there's a part of me that I think life just happened, the way it should have happened. So, yeah.
Well,
But
that
I
is
just,
interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, I just think that, I wouldn't give up so quickly either. I would just keep trying and trying and trying. Well, and I do. I mean, I do keep trying, so.
Yes, you do. Now, I know that our listeners would love to know how they could get in touch with you. You mentioned earlier that you do some coaching. I know that you have books and speaking engagements, and you have your blankets. Would you like to tell our listeners how they could get in touch with you?
Sure. So if they want to know more about the blanket, they can go to blanketsforburnkids.com. Or they can also go directly to my website, which is kellyfalardeau.com, and that is spelled Kelly, F as in Frank, ALARD as in dog, EAU.com. And also, if your listeners want, I just released my brand new ebook, and it's called 7 Ways to Embrace the Real You. And so I have a special offer for your tribe. They can go to my link. It's howtoloveyourself.org, and they can answer a short little survey about, give me their opinions about self-talk, and then they'll be able to get my ebook for 99 cents instead of $4.99. So feel free to go to howtoloveyourself.org and, get that free bonus for yourself. And go to my website and you can find out, more information about how to connect with me.
Wonderful. So that was howtoloveyourself.org is the link where you can get Kelly's latest.
Right. That's where they can access my ebook.
All right, great. And it's blankets for burn victims?
Burn Kids.
Burn Kids. Okay, blankets for
Yep.
burnkids.org.
.com.
Oh boy. Let's
It's
try that again.
blanketsforburnkids.com.
Listeners, I hope you could sort that out. I know that you will find valuable information on Kelly's website. I encourage you to download her ebook, learn how to love yourself, and think about opportunities to give the gift of love through those fabulous blankets that are a work of art. Kelly's own paintings on those blankets. Thank you for being with us today, Kelly. And thank you, listeners. I do hope you'll join us next Thursday on Encouraging Leadership, where we'll have more conversations to mobilize today's women leaders at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank you for listening to Encouraging Leadership. To learn more about our host, Ann Miner, and the Acacia Institute, please visit acaciainstitute.com. Join us next week at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, for more Encouraging Leadership. In the meantime, be courageous.